Hi everyone. So today's video is a bit of a spontaneous one. I wasn't planning on making this, but an interesting synchronicity just happened, and I thought it would be better to document it sooner rather than later. So here I am again in the forest, out of breath after just climbing a massive hill. So I just got an interesting comment on my Facebook page from one of my friends and subscribers, James. And man, it's pretty interesting. I'm going to have to start from the beginning though for it to make any sort of sense. I need to put this in context, as it were. Let me start from the beginning. I don't know if I mentioned this in the serious regression video, but during that regression, I was told something that didn't quite make sense to me, but I always remembered it. It really stuck out in my mind, even though I couldn't really fathom what it meant. But I was told that Sirius resonates at what we would perceive as the vibration of J. Now, like I said, it didn't really make much sense to me, and it's probably not going to make much sense to you either. But that's what I was told nonetheless. I was told that Sirius resonates at the letter J, or at least what human beings would perceive as the letter J. After I was told that, I started noticing how many people in my life had a name, or even two names, starting with the letter J. There was my dad, Stephen James Jones, two J's. There was my best mate, Joby Jordan Burbridge, another two J's. There was me, Reese Joseph Jones, another two J's. So as I started looking around, I started thinking, I do have a lot of connections with people with a name beginning with J. What does that mean though, really? I don't know. I just recognised it, acknowledged it, and pretty much moved on from it because I didn't know where else I could go with that information, really. So the months go by, and eventually I moved to America, as you all know, and I start attending College of the Redwoods. And again, all of a sudden, I start noticing that all the people I'm meeting, literally nearly everyone, I'm talking 95% of the people I meet, their names begin with the letter J. But not only the letter J now, John specifically. And it was bizarre because it was like literally everywhere I looked, every new person I met was called John. Now I know John is a fairly common name, but to me, John after John after John after John is not a coincidence in my mind. There was my roommate, John. There was my astronomy teacher, John. There was, some other people around the college. There was Johnny, the guitarist. There was John from LA that I met. All these Johns, non-stop. But again, I'm like, okay, this is an interesting synchronicity, but what does it mean? What do I do with this information? Nothing. Nothing. Then I start noticing the name John springing up in not only the people I meet, but movies I watch, books I read. So I watched the Mothman Prophecies one night. The main character's name is John. I play a computer game. The main character's name is John. I apply for a job, or at least I talk to someone about potentially getting a job at some place in this mall. It was like a spiritual shop in the mall. And he referred me to the boss, whose name was John. Chelsea buys me a book. The author's name is John. It's just, over and over again I'm presented with John. What the fuck does this mean? I don't know. I still don't know. I don't have some sort of resolution to this now. I don't have some sort of big twist at the end where I say, and what it all meant was... No, I wish I did. I really do wish I did, but I don't. And the more and more I start thinking about all of this, the more and more I realise that I've always been surrounded by people called John. I used to have a friend with schizophrenia back in the day called John. My uncle's name is John. I used to have an old school friend called John. So the more and more I start thinking about this, the less and less of a coincidence it seems. Because I can't make this connection with other names. I've known one Frank in my whole life. I've known one Bob in my whole life. I've known two Seans in my whole life. Yet, here's this reoccurring theme with the name John. you know, I haven't known 3 or 4 Johns or 5 or 6. I've known tens and tens and tens of Johns. I could probably, you know, if I really stretched my memory, come up with at least 100 Johns that I've met in my life. And I can't do that with any other name apart from that. So to me, that's a synchronicity. An old memory came back to me fairly recently as well. And this memory is of me as a kid being obsessed with the name Jonas. I remember I used to write little mini comic book sketches and the main character was called Jonas. And I used to apply the name Jonas to myself. I used to feel like I was Jonas. And I don't know what that means, but like the more and more I thought about it, I wondered if maybe that was my name back on Sirius, or at least that's the way we would interpret the sound of the name. I don't know, that's just a theory, but anyway, so yet again, Jonas. So not only is it J, not only is it J-O, which keeps on reoccurring, Joby, Jordan, Joseph, Jones, etc., like I said earlier, but it's also got John in it. So it's got the J, it's got the Joe, and it's got the John. And I remember being obsessed with this name as a kid. And this is before the Jonas Brothers. This is before the name Jonas was even really known that prevalently. So there's definitely some sort of relevance behind this, I think. So there's relevance in J, there's relevance in Joe, and there's relevance in John. And going back to Joe, loads and loads of my old female friends were called Joe or Joanne. You know, again, it was like that was a reoccurring theme. Nearly everyone I met that was a girl was called Joe or Joanne or Josephine. Shit, that's the other thing, man. Josephine. Sorry, I'm probably seeming a bit mental right now. But, yeah, that's just come back to me as well. I dated a girl called Josephine. And saying that, there was another girl called Josephine that I knew. And again, that ties in with not only Jay, not only Joe, but Joseph, which is my middle name. Man, there's some sort of synchronicity going on here, you can't deny that. Okay, so before I tell you the synchronicity that happened literally just an hour or two ago, let's have a quick roundup. So, I was told in the regression that Sirius resonates at the letter J. Then I start noticing all the people around me have names beginning with J. More often than not, 2 names beginning with J. Joby Jordan Burbridge, Reese Joseph Jones, me, my dad, Stephen James Jones, etc., etc. Then I moved to America. All the people I meet are John, over and over again. Everything I do, every book I read, every movie I watch, the main character is called John. I think back to my past, always being surrounded by people called John. Close people called John. All the girls I used to know were either called Joe or Joanne or Josephine. Again with the Joe, the J-O, the first 2 letters of it. Interesting stuff, I think, personally. Maybe if you're not in my shoes experiencing it, it doesn't seem that strange and you're just going, oh, John's a common name, stop reading so much into it. But man, seriously, you've got to try and wrap this around your head, how much it happens. I am not over-exaggerating. I can't stress this enough, how I am not over-exaggerating. So get this right, I've never ever talked about this with anyone, apart from really close people in my real life. But I've never ever discussed this with anyone on the internet, ever. Alright, okay, so have that in your mind, that I've never ever told anyone on the internet about this whole John thing, and then listen to this comment that one of my friends / subscribers, James, left me. Okay, this is it. I've known you as a friend for about a year now. Why the hell do I think your name is John each time I see you? I know you perfectly by name, obviously, but you seem to give off the name John more for some reason. Oh my god. The shock of that, the shock of reading that again started off a coughing fit in me. Oh my god. That is weird. Right? That is weird, right?